This is the podcast that we ask our guests from in front and behind the camera, how did they get their foot in the door? What was the key to unlocking their success? What's their story? Our guest today has been training her whole life to be a stunt performer. We chat about her scariest stunts, moving into acting in her latest role, and is Tom Cruise really the real deal? Our guest today is actress and stunt performer Jénel Stevens Thomson. I'm really excited to talk to you because, your career has just been insane. The incline is like this. So I'm really intrigued to hear how that all started, where that love of, stunt performing, you obviously got into coordinating as well. But where did that kind of, throwing yourself through windows and through tables, where did that love of that come from?
Man, I feel like it all started when I was a kid. The cliche saying goes, it all started back when. But without me knowing about it, to be honest, when I started, everything that my father and my parents put me through, or put me into rather, sports wise, and anything really, basketball, baseball. Started out with karate, went to taekwondo, went back into my martial arts. Um, you know, just wanting to do skydiving, jet skiing, got my scuba certification for no reason, loved horseback riding. So I feel like my whole mentality was just geared towards it. And, I was training for this career my entire life without even knowing about it. And I say that all the time, but it is very true. I never thought about stunts specifically until I had gotten myself professionally to a certain level with my personal training and my martial arts. And it just really was the perfect storm when it all came together.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, as a kid, I loved doing all those, you play fighting with your mates, you kind of do all these things. That seems like the dream job, though, to be able to continue that on into adulthood and actually be able to do it. But the reality of that, it's obviously very dangerous. A lot of the things you get to do. I've watched a couple of your stunts, like some of the videos you've got on your Instagram and stuff like that as well. And some of it looks terrifying. There was one in particular that I was looking at where you were jumping off a platform onto I guess like cardboard boxes or something along those lines.
Oh, yes, the
Three of you up
equalizer.
there jumping. Um,
Yes.
you're not at all scared of heights then?
Definitely scared at a lot of things that I do for a living. There's no lack of fear there. It's just more of learning how to manage it, really.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm the most proud of is being able to walk away and say I did that. The fear is there, the adrenaline's there. It's very real. And when I feel like I don't have that anymore, I think that's when I need to stop doing this job. It's important to have that to stay focused for me, particularly. So yeah, there's no daredevil in me. I feel like I take risks, but they're calculated risks. And our motto in stunts is safety first, for sure. So what you see on camera, we most likely rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed until it's all dialed in.
Well, that's the magic of movies. You see these things as all finished and polished, but I guess it's all that training that goes into it. And as you mentioned there, you've obviously done multiple martial arts, and you kind of been training for this your whole life. What is like your favorite? I know you've done a bit of everything, like car stunts, physical stunts. Do you have something you're particularly sort of, something that you really enjoy doing? Your favorite thing?
Absolutely. Fighting is my favorite. Any fight sequence I could be a part of. I love it. I really do enjoy it.
Are you a big fan of like boxing, UFC, like all those sort of things as well, or is it more you just like to do it physically, not so much watch it?
No, I do like to watch it as well. I'm not as well versed in all the players and the fighters and all that, their names and all that, but I definitely have my favorites and I do watch it. Alicia Baumgardner is I'm kind of obsessed with her right now as a boxer. Um, but yeah, I love watching boxing, UFC, and I'll tap into other martial arts too, just to take a peek, and obviously jujitsu as well. So yeah, I love watching it. I like enjoying it on film. I knew um, I was okay just watching it after, I competed in Muay Thai, but so after doing that, well, before doing that, actually, I would watch the fights and go to the fights, and I would just be itching to get in there. And after my career or after I stepped away from it, um, I was able to just sit there and watch it. and enjoy it and just be like, okay, I'm good. So yeah, I do enjoy watching it, and now I've come to peace with not having to get back into the ring.
It must be fun as well to. I do jiu-jitsu myself, and I know that uh,
Nice.
things like that you see in John Wick or you see in the movies you've done, the Avengers and things like that. You go, that's a really saucy move they're doing there, and I wish I could do that and pull it off. It must be fun to be able to, choreograph and practice something until it's perfectly fluid and you're doing it and it looks so amazing on screen. That kind of
Yeah.
how much time does it take to, on average, to do, say, a 2 minute action sequence? Is it kind of days? Is it weeks? How long does that sort of thing take to choreograph?
It depends, actually. It can take days, weeks, or months sometimes. Depends on how intense the scene is, how intricate it is, how many gags we have to do in that sequence. So, for example, Jupiter's Legacy, I was in that. I was doubling one of the superheroes in that, and there was I don't even remember how long the fight sequence was on camera or when you watched it, final edit. I'd have to say it's less than 2 minutes, but we rehearsed that for over 2 months, easy, because it was one person fighting against 12 superheroes, so it was a lot of moving parts in that. Some of us were flying, some of us had supernatural speed, some of us had invisible lassos that were, so it was really intense. But if it's a small fight sequence, then it could maybe take a day or two, and it also depends on how much of the actor is going to be in it as well versus the stunt performer. Being able to train them up could take months because maybe they've never thrown a punch before in their life. They've never gotten into a fighting stance. So that could take some time as well. But as a stunt actor, I'm a little dialed in, I guess you could say, not tooting my own horn, but I that's in my wheelhouse. I know how to fight. I know how to make it look good. So that might take a little less time in terms of coming together with a fight sequence, but it all depends
Do you ever pinch yourself and think, this is my job? I'm getting to do this. I'm being paid to do it, and this is actually my job.
all the time. All the time. I have to remind myself sometimes when we're off set. It's like, man, been on set for 14 hours. I was like, I'm tired, and I'm like, you know what? I get to do this. This is my job. This is amazing. This is
Yeah.
fun. I play, cops and robbers and fight for, film, and this is so much fun, and I love it. I don't feel like I work at all. This is what I love to do.
It's not a 9 to 5, office job. It's a very different, very physical, very different thing. But in terms of, starting out and those first few steps, obviously you had the interest when you were younger to do all these activities and things like that. But what were the first few kind of steps to getting yourself involved in stunts and kind of, I guess you can't just go from, being a kid to something like I'm going to do this. Was there a course? Was there what was it that you did to get into the film industry?
So I had a lot of friends in the industry already, which was very helpful. Because a lot of them went to the martial arts school that I went to and worked to go to and taught at. So just pulling them aside and going to the gym. There's, a couple stunt gyms now in New York where we would just go and train things like, okay, well, I've never done a high fall before. How do we do this? Jumping into pads, learning the difference between real fighting and fighting for camera, going over those steps. And also going to a lot of seminars. There's a lot of seminars out there, fire seminars, driving seminars, which I went to a lot of, high fall seminars. So there's a lot of knowledge out there and a lot of avenues that you can go down to teach yourself. And even if it's not specifically for stunts, like tactical training, going to or taking a tactical course. So stuff like that is out there, and just making sure, like basically everything we do is, you never know when you're going to get asked to be on a horse on a show. And I've done that, so having to go to taking horseback riding lessons. You never know what you're going to get called for. So the more and more you can do, the more tools you can put in your toolbox, the better.
Yeah, I guess you've got to be ready for literally anything. Is it? It must be nerve-wracking when there's something you haven't done, and then there's something like, well, you need to. This is something we're talking about. This is going to be the stunt. Um, there must be a lot of trepidation there, but as you say, there's a lot of prep. There's a lot of
practice involved before, going ahead and actually doing it. Um, has there been a stunt that you've kind of been like, oh, I'm not sure about this one. This one's a little bit fruity.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always talk about this one stunt that I've done is the high fall or high dive, actually, a 33-foot high dive into the ocean. That was pretty crazy. I'd never done anything like that before. But to add a new one to talk about, I got in a call, and it's funny because there were two things that I said I would not do in my career. It was high falls and car hits, and I guess, well, adding a third to that was motorcycles. And funny enough, I've done all three of those. So one time I got a call from a coordinator. He was, "Hey, can you ride a motorcycle?" And I said, "No, I can't. Sorry about that." He goes, "Yeah, no worries. I'll call you for something else down the line." I hung up the phone. I'm like, I need to get my motorcycle license. So I went, I did the course, got my motorcycle license with the intent to buy a motorcycle and just practice. I told myself I was gonna be in the parking lot for like a year until I got comfortable because of all the things that I love doing, the one thing I'm actually really nervous about are motorcycles. Um, but I sucked it up and I, learned how to do it. However, work and life got in the way, so I wasn't able to get that motorcycle. And then years later, actually, for the movie Shadow Force that I'm in coming out on Friday, the coordinator asked me because I was on the acting side with that, but then the coordinator asked me because there was a scene where the actors had to pull up. He goes, "Can you ride a motorcycle?" I was like, "Yes, but I need some time on that bike before we go to camera." So the first day we went to try it out, I got on the bike. I was like, "All right, coach me through this like I've never done this before. I just have to be reminded." So he's like, "All right, no problem. Do this, this, and that." And then I stalled the bike automatically. And he's like, uh, maybe we could pivot to do so. I was like, "No, no, no. I promise you. I just need a refresher." So then he was, very reluctantly, he was like, "Okay." And then, memory kicked in. And then I took off for the practice loop, and he's like, "Oh, okay. I saw how you turn that corner. You know what you're doing."
Yeah.
So, and then I did it on camera, never stalled. So, that was a little nerve wracking for sure.
Your heart must have been going with that one. That's pretty.
Absolutely.
That's nerve-wracking. Wow.
And on scene in the scene, we're actually having to come down a little bit more of a decline, and there's just a lake in front of us. So,
Hmm.
mess up on that one, it's not going to be a good day.
God. Did you say that was for Shadow Force? Did I mishear that?
Yes, that was it. That was for Shadow Force. Yeah.
I mean, the film looks incredible, by the way. We will talk about that
Thank you.
later down the line, but looks really, really great. Oh man, that's crazy. That kind of thing kind of puts the fear into my soul. It reminds me of because I'm an actor myself, and I did a job years back, and I remember there's a very young stunt guy. It was on a British sort of TV show, and I had to basically walk out as the actor, walk out to where this car is meant to be, and then we swap over, and then he gets run over, and then it's him
Ooh.
doing the stunt and everything else. And
Uh-huh.
I remember it's the first time I'd ever seen a stunt up close. And it was for a show called The Bill, which is a very British thing, which has ended now. But I remember seeing his face, and he was like sweating. He looked really nervous, and I was like, "Are you all right?" Like just before we were about to go, and he's like, "Oh yes, it's my first car hit, basically." And I was like, "Oh right, so this is the first time you've okay, cool." And as we swapped, he kind of looked at me, and I looked at him, and I remember thinking, "Rather you than me, mate. That's." But it's the look on his face. It's a look I'll never forget. But that must be crazy. Can you remember sort of your first stunt, like on camera? Is that a memorable moment? It must be.
My first stunt actually was it went pretty well actually, which is great because I know we all have our entry stories, right? We all have our past and our stories of how we've gotten into and how it goes. I've been fortunate to have, like you said, the incline went like this. It wasn't like, steep up. A lot of people first, gag they do is a fire burn or a car hit. Mine was a gradual, progression. So I was happy with that. And I do remember it was on Mysteries of Laura, and Ma'am Smith was took me under her wing that day, and I'm eternally grateful for that. I had no idea what I was doing. I went and I was like, "Oh, I get a dressing room." Like I kept the door open. I didn't know. I was like, "Where do I go?" So it was funny. The coordinator that hired me wasn't there on the day. He had somebody covering him. And uh, the stunt was I was supposed to jump through a hole. We were supposed to like have blown up this hole in the bank and like it's called a lache, by the way. And when somebody said that to me, I was like, I don't think I know how to do that. And my friend who put me in for the job, she was, no, it's nothing technical. You just, grab onto this bar and you swing through. I was like, oh, the thing I do in scaffolding every day. And she's like, yeah, that. And she like sent me a video. I was like, yeah, I can do that. So that was no problem. And then we did one take, and then the director comes over and he's like, oh, I want her to shoot 2 times right as she's going through the hole. So the coordinator comes out and he's like white. He's like flushed. He's like, can you do that? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. And he's like, okay. I'm like, first time meeting me, had no idea. Went perfectly well, did what I was supposed to do. And he ran over. He goes, did you shoot the 3 shots? And I was like, yeah, you told me to shoot 3 times, right? He's like, yeah. Did you get him off? I was like, yeah, I did it. It's fine. He's like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, how did you? It was like, you're making me nervous, but it was totally fine. Went perfectly. There was another part of that whole day where we had to like shimmy up some kind of air duct shaft, and everything that we did was like something I would do in a playground for fun. So it went perfectly well. But going back to your car hit story, I do remember that one too. My first car hit, I was flown out to Budapest to double someone for Treadstone, and they told me everything I was going to do except the car hit. And I got to Budapest and we were going over everything that's going to happen in this fight sequence. And they're like, all right, yeah, you do this, you jump through the window, you go down all this I knew. And they're like, okay. And then when you get up, you get hit by the car and you go by, blah, blah. And I looked at them, but the actor was there, my actress, and I'm like, what? And he's like, oh, I didn't tell you that part, did I? was like, no. And I just played it cool, but then like, it took a lot in me to go up to him and be like, hey, so I'm actually petrified, guys. And he goes, thank you for telling me. No problem. We rehearsed it. He was right there with me. We did everything in prep that we needed to do. One and done, perfectly executed. The only funny part about that was like, he's like, all right, I'm going to get some Armor Flex for you, which is like a thin piece of padding, if you will, that they could paint like the ground so they could blend in or they can, be effects out. And he put it in a spot. He's like, all right, you're probably going to land here. I was like, cool. And when he said that, I had soft pads on from earlier in the day. And I was like, stranger things have happened. So I put my hard pads on just in case. And thank God I did, because I did not land on that pad at all. So, I did the car hit. We did it one time, hit the deck really hard, and it worked. And I have that under my belt too.
It must be a crazy thing to have all this sort of footage of you doing these mental things. Certainly one to show the grandchildren in years to come. That was me doing that. There was that. I mean, it's crazy. Um, there must be, there's so many great stuntmen, women through the years. Is there particular people that when you were starting your career that you looked up to, that you were like, wow, I wanna have a career like that?
Absolutely. There's 3 that come to mind automatically. Heidi Schnappoff was the person that really got me into stunts. She referred me for that first job that I did. And, every time I see her, we talk about it. And she's a dear friend of mine. And then Ma'am Smith, like I said before, she was there on my first day, doubling Deborah Messing. And she just really took me through a crash course of stunts, that first day, which is, they were diamonds that I still execute to this day. And then Asia Frary was another mentor that I consider and I look up to. Those are all OGs in the game that I see sometimes. I haven't seen Ma'am in a while, but her son also Drew Reed is an amazing human being and an amazing stunt performer. So I say hi through him to her. But those 3 I hold dear to my heart for sure.
It sounds like you've had a lot of guidance and support through the beginning of your career, and I mean that must be so important to feel like you're, well, I mean in any career looked after, but in this one in particular, it must be so nice to have those people around you.
No, absolutely. It's extremely important. And I've been very fortunate to come across the right people, get in the right circles, and I have nothing but support and love, and I give it back as much as I can as well. Because we hold each other's lives in our hands.
Mm.
So it's a very tight-knit community, and I have a lot of friends in the business, and we look after each other, and we give each other advice, and we train together, and and we just we take notes with each other, like, oh, what pads are you wearing today? Like, oh, where'd you get that from? And so, you know, a lot of things, and they're looking at monitor when you're doing a stunt. He's like, you know what? You don't really have to sell out that much because you're not really being seen on camera. So
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Save your knees for this one. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone. I mean, in the film industry, there's always someone to look up to. There's always a mentor of sorts. Now that you're at the point where you are in your career and you've done so many amazing projects, you just mentioned there, you like to sort of, help people as well. Not only like people have helped you, so you help them back, and people coming up in the game. What advice would you give to someone that's kind of looking to get into the film industry, looking to, get into stunts and kind of follow in your footsteps?
I would say just train, do anything and everything you can. Stay fit, because our bodies are our tools. So you get wrecked sometimes, and it's always important to maintain a certain level of fitness, but also to get body work done. I remember on Avengers, actually, it was really funny. A lot of the OG stunt performers were getting massages during rehearsals, and we're like, that seems like that. No, we're not gonna do that, And it's like, but it was important. It stuck with me when one of the coordinators like, no, you guys are the ones in there getting racked day in and day out. You need body work, and after being in this business for a while, it's super important for longevity. Even if you don't think you need it in the beginning because you're young and spry, I get it, but it's gonna take its toll. So massages, chiropractic work, acupuncture, whatever it is.
Mm.
Um, it's important to get body work done. But yeah, like I said, train, um, take basic martial arts. That's a really big key, a really big base that you're going to need. You can, and I don't know a lot of guys that trick and stuff like that, but those stunts and stuff come few and far between sometimes. But the basics are like fighting, try to get some driving seminars in, actually go to as many seminars as possible. There's information out there. There's Facebook groups that you can join and be a part of, no matter what market you're in, whether it's LA, Atlanta, New York, or if you're in another state. Just reach out, network. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. I've had a lot of people reach out to me who've never met me before on my IG or social media, whatever it is, being like, hey, what's some advice? So I think that's really important to just put yourself out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, those driving seminars sound like a lot of fun. I'm not going
Oh
to get
yeah.
stunts anytime soon, but that sounds like just a good day out.
Absolutely. In fact, a lot of people, it's meant for stunt performers a lot of times, but a lot of people just go to do it. And
Yeah,
it is a lot of fun. Highly recommend it.
I might have to look into it just for a laugh.
Now for a quick break. We'll be back to the episode shortly. If you enjoyed this episode and want to support us, get early access and exclusive content and episodes, click to join our YouTube channel and become a member now. Please leave us a positive rating. Add us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Life in Film Pod. Essentially, please like and subscribe everything. It makes a huge difference. Thank you. This podcast is sponsored by Betterhelp. Do you work in the film industry? Are you freelance? Or perhaps you have a 9 to 5? No matter what you do, mental health affects us all. I struggled early on in my career with the uncertainty of if and when I would ever work again, struggling to pay my bills or simply with anxiety. Don't know about you, but being an actor, it's very important for me to maintain structure in the downtimes, and I found not only exercise, but talking to someone for me was a game changer. And so Life in Film has partnered with Betterhelp to provide you with access to the largest online therapy service in the world. And it can all be done from the comfort of your own home, from a phone, tablet or laptop. No commute, cutting down travel costs, and most importantly, it's affordable. With over 1,000 therapists in the UK, Betterhelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise in mental health. If you need someone to talk to and you're thinking of giving therapy a go, BetterHelp is a great option. And being a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm. That's betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm. And back to the show.
The films that you've done, there's so many different stunts, the roles, the characters, everything going into these things. A huge, huge production. So I presume there's a big team of stunt people on these projects. I mean, like Avengers, things like that is just like gargantuous. Um, you get a kick out of seeing yourself on screen and something like that, where you're like, that's my stunt. I could see me doing that. That must be pretty wild.
Yeah, it never gets old. But it's even it's even cooler for me when my family members or friends reach out to me like, "Oh, I saw you in this." And it's like, "Wait, you weren't supposed to see me in that."
Yeah,
It's
you're not
really
supposed to
funny.
recognize me in this bit.
But my family always points. I have one cousin actually, and she always freeze frames it and sends me the screenshot like, "Ah, I saw you. I knew that was you." And a lot of people can tell my mannerisms on screen or whatever. But yeah, it's really cool to see yourself on screen and to be proud of your work. I love it, and uh, because it never gets old for me is why I continue to do it, and the places I could go with it. I'm excited for the future, and just looking back on my past too. Sometimes I do have to just sit and realize what I've done. I don't often do that, so it's pretty cool to have these conversations and be like, oh yeah, I did that. That was really cool, and it brings back memories. So.
Well, also, like, it's set in stone, these things are films that people are going to see from years to come, and some of the huge movies that you've been in. And when you were growing up and, watching, I presume watching movies, were there any stunts? I'm trying to think of things like I remember as a kid watching the GoldenEye stunt jumping off the dam, or, the car chase in the French Connection, things like that that really stood out to me as a kid. Was there any particular stunts that you remember watching in movies when you were growing up?
Actually, no. When I watch movies and stuff, the fighting and stuff, I guess, was something, but it never dawned on me, the stunt aspect of it. It was just part of the movie for me. I never really thought about it in depth. But it's funny that you asked that because now when I rewatch those movies, I'm like,
Uh,
oh, wow.
yeah.
But and now I look at movies differently, and it was really funny. I was watching a movie with my cousin, and afterwards she was like, I love watching movies with you because you can just dissect things and see things that I'm not looking at. And there was one car sequence actually where they were doing a car chase and these two cars were like bumper to nose the whole time. And I was like, man, that was amazing. I want to know who drove those cars. That scene was awesome. And for her, it was like, they were just driving down. I was like, no, you don't understand. So it's like knowing the behind the scenes of things gets me excited to see stunts now and to rewatch them in movies that I used to watch that I didn't pick up back then is really cool.
Does it take you out of watching the movie, or do you just? It sounds like you just love that aspect of being able to sort of see behind the, curtain.
Yes and no. Sometimes there are times. I mean, my husband, when we're watching a movie, sometimes he'll be like, "Don't call out." And it's funny. He'll know the people too, but he's like, "Don't call out their names. Don't. I don't. I want to be in it." And he's like, "I know this is a fight sequence. Don't pick it apart. Just watch the movie." So there are times when I'm watching, I was like, "Oh, come on, that was a miss. I can't believe blah blah blah." But then other times I try to separate myself, and I do still enjoy watching movies. I look at them differently, but I do really enjoy watching movies.
Mm. Well, obviously you've been a stunt double, stunt performer, coordinator. There's kind of loads of different aspects which I really enjoyed looking into actually because I don't know much about stunts, but is there a particular segment of, stunt work that you enjoy the most?
I really enjoy stunt acting. At this point in my career, I really enjoy the acting part of it while including the physical aspect of the stunts and being able to do them myself because I've done it for so long. Um, Second to that would be honestly the biggest kick I get out of is teaching. Because I've been a martial arts instructor before, but so teaching my actor or actress what to do, especially in a fight sequence, and training them up, and then seeing them executed on screen. It just I love that. I mean, one of my favorites was with Viola Davis on Woman King, and I can't hide my emotions, and I'm sitting there with Prince Bythewood, um, and she was always looking at me to see like, was that good? Should we go again? Blah blah blah. And whenever Viola did something that was amazing or what we had been training for, I'd be like, yeah, and I'm like, I had to be like really silent, but it was always exciting, and I think everybody drew off my energy from that. But I do love seeing that come to life, and obviously I love I'm very particular and very critical of myself, so I'm never satisfied when I see my own stuff. Um, but seeing the, working on something for so long and then seeing it on camera is very rewarding for me.
I mean, yeah, I can imagine it must be great when you've put so much time and effort into the practice or into the rehearsal, and then when it comes up and it's, on the screen. Now, I guess you're behind the camera, as you say, like watching it, like,
Yeah.
no, that must be a lot of fun. But in terms of your, late, I mean, you've got a lot of projects coming out, but the one that's like, just on the cusp of coming out, is Shadow Force, which, I mean, it looks like there's a lot of very practical stunts in this, which these days, a lot of CGI can be brought into things, but this looks like it's legit a lot of stunts, amazing car stunts as well. When you come onto a project like this, is there that kind of, because obviously CGI has become such a big thing in the industry, is it quite rare to have a project that has so many actual like physical stunts without the CGI?
I wouldn't say it's rare, but and again, everybody has their own path. I've been fortunate to work with Marvel a lot, right? But to have a project like this is very refreshing. To have it not be CGI, all and AI and all that. But we were on location in Colombia. Joe Carnahan, the director, wanted it to be very practical. He wanted a lot of things to feel real, and they were. The boat chase was very real. The car sequences were very real. The fight sequences were very real. So there's not a lot of CGI, if any, in this movie, which is great. And I really enjoy working on projects like that because um, you really have to bring it. You really have to bring your skill set to the table, and you know, you can't have a computer fix your mistakes as much as in a Marvel movie or a superhero movie. So I really enjoy the rawness of the stunts, where we were dealing with the elements and everything that's involved with it.
Well, yeah, no, the stuff. I mean, just the boat chase. Just there's a moment where the main character like falls over the side of the boat, which obviously not your character, but that just look, and you could feel the stunts. They feel and look very painful. Um, when you get a script through and you're kind of going through the stunts, obviously it's your job and you love it. But is there a slight sense of like, oh my God, I've got to do this. This is it's a little bit daunting.
It's not so much in the script reading because a lot of times when it's an action sequence or fight sequence, there's not much detail put into it on paper.
Mm.
They really do leave
Just
that
like
up to the stunt department. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they go into
we'll let the
something, but
stunt
then
team
you
figure that
also right, right, because sometimes they'll write stuff and you're like, well, that's not even physically possible, but we'll figure
out.
that out. So when the stunt team gets it and then we start to conceptualize and put it together, that's when you're like, well, maybe we could do this. And then I was like, ooh, who's gonna do that one? Who's gonna do that gag? Who's gonna do the dead man? Or call out these stunts. And I think I'm a little bit past raising my hand for things. I will do anything you tell me to do. But yeah, it's like I'll let the next generation step in.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, now that I mean, finally, stunt work is going to be recognized at awards season, which I mean, just seems insane that that hasn't been a thing from the start. Um,
Right.
do you think that's going to cause, because I don't know how it's going to work, but do you think that's going to cause almost like a competitive edge where people are going to start to try and outdo each other's stunts, or is this a really good thing? Because I don't know enough about it to know, if this
It
is.
is a really good thing. It's
Mm.
a very good thing, but that competitive aspect has been happening.
Yeah,
We didn't
that
need an Oscar
have
for
to.
that. Yeah, I mean, every year we go, every movie, especially if it's a sequence or, the third installment of the movie or whatever it is, you always want to go bigger,
Mm.
go harder. And the directors push the stunt department for it. And the coordinators like because we have our other stunt awards ceremonies. We have the Taurus Awards that's actually coming up this weekend. And, you know, we have things that we get recognized for. We have the SAG Awards and stuff like that. But we do what we do because we love it, not necessarily for the award. But I think it's just going to continue. The award is just a recognition that I think that Stunts deserves. because we were the ones really risking our lives for entertainment, you know. So I know we were supposed to be in the shadows, you know, we're not supposed to be, no, nobody's supposed to know that we do this, but it's 2025. We know that, you know, certain people aren't doing certain things, and then the people who are doing it need to be recognized for that. So,
100%,
uh,
100%.
yeah,
Oh, it's so
yeah.
good that it's finally been recognized. I mean, that did you see the film Fall Guy?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like
Yeah,
an incredible
a lot
film.
of friends on that.
Yeah, and there was a lot of when that came out, there was a lot of kind of talk about why aren't stunts recognized? So it's so great to see that that is finally, a thing. But in terms of, I mean, you've got several other projects coming out, and I don't know if what you're allowed to say and what you're allowed to talk about or not, but obviously Superman is something that you're involved with. There's also Happy Gilmore 2, which I'm very excited about. Two very different things. When when you get called in for something like Happy Gilmore, what is the difference between, say, Superman and Happy Gilmore? I mean, it's a very different sort of level, I guess, in the stunt range, but it's
Yeah,
a variety, right?
absolutely. I mean, somebody new in the business won't really know the difference really, but because I've been doing this for a while, I kind of get a sense for what's to come. Like you never really know what you're going to do, especially if they call like, "Hey, you available?" Sure. And then you just go. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. But with a movie like Happy Gilmore, you're probably going to get more practical stunts, more uh gaggy type of stunt work, such as falling out of a golf cart or going through a table or something like that. Which is more funny and slapstick. But when you're called for something like Superman, okay, a lot of wires are probably involved, a lot of explosions, a lot of car stuff. So you kind of know, you get a sense, and basically you kind of know how to pack your stunt bag when you're getting on that plane and going to that set. You know, it's like, okay, I'm going to need my harness for this, which I did. I didn't expect to. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, we need another stunt here. Um, and I was that person to do that. Again, did not raise my hand, but
But they
was
chose you.
called upon and I stepped up to the plate. That's what the job is, you know. So
Yeah. It must be wild to be on set on something as iconic as Superman, or I mean, if you're a Happy Gilmore fan, as iconic as Happy Gilmore, and the Avengers, like all these films that you've done. Is there a movie that you've worked on in particular that you were like, I can't believe I'm doing this movie, like a real sort of pinch yourself moment? Maybe a franchise you were already a fan of before you got on set.
um I would say, I mean, obviously Black Panther was epic, iconic,
Yeah.
timeless, and groundbreaking. That to me will forever have a place in my heart. That was amazing being a part of. And then um, Woman King actually was the other one. I actually didn't do Black Panther 2 to be on Woman King, but it was great to play in that where that is the origin story of where the Dora came from.
Mm,
So it was like almost full circle for me, and to film it in Africa,
mm,
unbelievable,
mm.
you know. And then now to do Shadow Force is another step up to stunt acting, you know, being the one on camera doing the fight scene as myself, having lines co-starring with Kerry Washington, Omar Sy, and everybody in that cast was phenomenal. So those would be my top three as it stands right now.
Mm. Is that something you also want to do more of? You know, the fact that your face is on the screen, your family are no longer going, I can see that's your bit that like, it's you actually performing. Is that
Yeah,
something you want to do more of?
1000%,
Yeah.
1000%. I actually started with acting and modeling way before I did even started in stunts.
Mm.
You know, and I stepped away from it because being in New York City, having to pay bills, you know, it wasn't hitting as fast as I needed it to hit to pay rent. But that was, you know, my first love in the industry, actually. So coming back to it now, having the background that I have and being able to do it in this lane is phenomenal. To the marriage of the two, stunts and acting, for me is the epitome of what I want to do.
I did notice on your IMDb that your first credit, and like you never know how accurate this is, but your first credit in 2009 was the girlfriend experience, which
Wow, you dug deep.
I hold this back, I hold it back until I need it. But yeah, I noticed that you obviously you started doing acting jobs, and then you kind of sidestepped into doing stunts, and now it's like it's a nice full circle moment where I feel like now you're back on screen, but you're using all the things you've learned along the years, which is amazing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. That to me is, I think, is the proudest moment or the proudest thought um, for me in this industry. As you can tell, I'm a little speechless about that. But
Yeah.
yeah, the fact that you picked that up, I mean, I can't say more than what you just did. That's exactly that's exactly the point. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, to be fair, I'm a big fan, and I'm really enjoying. I mean, like I'm gonna go back as well, and I'm gonna see all the things that I didn't watch before. But it's just it's an incredible career that you've had so far, and I hope that it keeps going in that direction, and you get more screen time as well. But thanks so much for taking the time, and yeah, I'm really
Thank you for
enjoying
having me.
seeing you on screen, and yeah, keep going, keep going. I'm very jealous. I wish I could. Stunts. It looks like a lot of fun.
You never know. I
Yeah,
never
you
thought
never
I
know.
was
You
gonna
never
do
know. Just one thing I'd like to ask actually. It's just this is a kind of random segue, separate thing, but just because it's quite topical and the new Mission Impossible is coming out, and people are always kind of saying Tom Cruise is amazing. He's doing all these stunts that's in his 60s and everything else. I'm intrigued to hear from a stunt woman's point of view. How much do you think Tom Cruise does? Does he actually do a lot of his own stunts? Does he have a stunt double? What's your view on that whole thing? I mean, from my point of view, it seems incredible that he's doing the things he's doing in his 60s. But
Tom Cruise is a legend. He definitely does most, if not all, of his stunts in the movies. He does have a stunt double from time to time, for sure, because there's insurance things, and
yeah,
it might also be the fact that maybe he's on first unit and the stunt double has to be on second unit, and they have to work in tandem. But Tom Cruise definitely does that.
mm,
He's on it. He's in it, and he loves it, and I respect him for it. It's great to see, and all you see all the behind the scenes, like when he did that jump on the motorcycle and did the skydiving. That was him,
yeah,
and hanging off the side of a plane. When he jumped over that building, he did that. He broke his ankle, and he was asking, did you get it? That was his first question, and because he had to hobble off and knowing that he probably broke his ankle, but he wanted to make sure that they got the shot. So yeah, Tom Cruise is the real deal.
what?
Not gonna lie. Then we do have, there's I know he has some support every once in a while with a stunt performer, but a stunt double. But yeah,
That I'm glad to hear that. I wanted to hear your professional opinion on that one because I'm a big fan of Tom Cruise. But yeah, I mean, it's always like a kind of an event, isn't it? When one of his movies comes out and you're like, oh my God, is he going to survive this one? Like he always does these insane things, and you're like, oh man. But yeah, I mean, hats off to him.
yeah, yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much. And this has been a real pleasure for me. So good luck with the movie and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Well,
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
thank you. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.
If you enjoyed this episode and want to support us, get early access and exclusive content and episodes, click to join our YouTube channel and become a member now. Thank you to our guest Jénel, and thank you to Kate and the team at Initiative PR. As always, thank you to our sponsor, Betterhelp. If you want to check out Jénel on Instagram, it's Jénel_Stunts.